introduce our presenters. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Gina Jones is the Administrative Coordinator for the Virtual High School at Prince William County Schools. She has supervised the online program for Prince William County Schools since 2003. And prior to that, she was both an online and face-to-face high school social studies teacher. Gina has overseen the expansion of the virtual high school at Prince William County Schools to include 22 full credit courses and enrollment of more than 1,000 students per year. The virtual high school was recently honored by the Center for Digital Education with the Digital Content and Curriculum Achievement Award. Congratulations. And Kim Devine, she is an instructional designer and project manager with extensive experience designing and developing online undergraduate and high school courses, as well as training and educational materials for all delivery formats. Kim spent 13 years as an instructional designer for the University of Maryland University College. She is currently a consultant providing instructional design and development services to a variety of clients, including the virtual high school at Prince William County Schools, which is what we are all about today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the desktop over to Gina and the presentation over to her.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Steve, for inviting us to present today on how Prince William County Schools has expanded our blending learning opportunities and partnered with SoftChalk and Desire2Learn in that effort. First thing I want to do is give some background on both the virtual high school and Prince William County Schools. Prince William County Schools is the second largest public school division in Virginia with over 80,000 students. Our virtual high school began in 2000, began as a supplemental program and has remained a supplemental program. We will speak in a few minutes about how we're sort of branching out of that model a little bit. The course content for our virtual high school is created in-house, thus our partnership with SoftChalk. We use master teachers that we call learning content authors, or LCAs, and they partner with instructional designers such as Kim, who has been our lead instructional designer for several years, to create our content. So we call ourselves DIY High. We do it ourselves. We have had over 9,000 students earn course credit through the virtual high school. We offer both rigor and flexibility in our program. It is a blended format, even in the supplemental mode, in that we do require students to attend face-to-face orientation and exams are proctored in person. We use our own Prince William County Schools instructors who are trained to teach online. We currently have 22 full credit courses, and all of our courses are offered in a semester-length schedule, which provides the students great flexibility. We do have very strict requirements for our online learning content, the instruction and the time frame, and therefore we have been approved by the NCAA as a non-traditional course provider under their very strict non-traditional course rules. So we're very proud of that. So I want to start by just describing a couple of program needs. Our two major needs in the past year to 18 months have been, number one, transitioning our program orientation from a course model to a more self-sufficient embedded lesson model, whereby we could provide orientation lessons on the program and the policies of the program before the session started and before the courses were actually staffed by teachers, so that the kids can hit the ground running when the courses start and really focus on the actual course content, having already learned about what the program is, what the policies are, and how to navigate inside Desire2Learn. The second issue that has arisen in the past year is the need for master versions of some of our courses. And I will discuss how SoftChalk and Desire2Learn have helped us solve these two pressing issues with our program, and I will be demonstrating, as will Kim, and showing some examples of this later in the webinar. I want to first highlight again these two products. The Desire2Learn Learning Management System has been utilized by our VHS for both content management and hosting for the past 7 years. SoftChalk has been utilized to empower our LCAs to create our engaging and multimedia rich content easily and with uniform consistency. We've used them for the past 5 years. The integration of SoftChalk lessons into our D2L courses was certainly supported by both companies, and we use both of these products to offer our full credit core courses to students, as well as our new online teaching methodology professional development courses to teachers who want to teach in our program. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of background again for the needs that have led us to this point, and talk a little bit about our pilots that we offered last year and how they've led us to a more blended learning environment. The virtual high school at Prince William County Schools has experienced some significant growth this past year, and changes in school division policy has led us to a more blended approach to our online offerings. We have had greater demand in the past 2 years from students who want more choice in online offerings. Basically, they want to choose to take a course online as part of their regular schedule, rather than only as an additional course in the supplemental program. Prince William County Schools implemented a BYOD, or bring your own device policy, last year, allowing students to bring and use their devices during the school day. With this background, we had 3 high schools of our 12 who piloted online courses last year outside the supplemental program format. So we partnered with these 3 schools of innovation to launch these pilots, and they had 3 separate models. One had students go into a lab face-to-face with a teacher who instructed them and saw them every other day while they worked in their course in Desire2Learn. The others had students and teachers flex their schedules, so they could take and teach the online course outside the school day, even though it was part of their regular schedule, which created some opportunities for students to pursue other interests, to finish a course in a semester, and to experience online learning as a high school student, which we know is very valuable. The feedback we gathered from these pilots did result in an expansion of the pilots. It was very successful, and we're looking to increase these blended options with both online and face-to-face components. So basically what we learned was the face-to-face model could be a little more online, and the online model really needed a bit more face-to-face connection. So with this background, we decided that we needed to develop some master courses. We needed versions of courses basically that could be shared with the schools to use in blended offerings as part of the students' regular schedule. This demand shifted focus from the supplemental offerings, where each teacher had their own version of the course and refreshed it each year, to a broader distribution of courses for use in the schools. So we did create our master course templates. Of course, with this process, there were some concerns about scalability and accountability for content, since we do create our own content. There were certainly some resulting pain points. One of them is the fact that we have site-based management, which leads to different needs based on demographics for each of our 12 high schools. Many of the schools want to use their own teachers and offer the courses in varied formats, varied percentages of online and face-to-face. So we decided that we would train those teachers in our instructional model, which has proven very successful with the online teaching methodology course. We also, after some consulting opportunities, developed a franchise model, again, where we will train the teachers and share the courses. Of course, there are quality concerns, as with any franchise. Our name is on the product, and we want to have quality controls in place. So we needed a streamlined method for controlling content changes, with accountability residing in the virtual high school with our own experienced learning content authors. So I call this the perfect storm. As we are pondering these pain points and these opportunities for progress, SoftChalk Cloud is launched. So this is going to greatly increase our ability to meet the demand for the blended integration. Previously, our teachers used the desktop version of SoftChalk, which many of you are probably familiar with. Each teacher had their own license and course shell. However, this did lead to a lot of duplication, sometimes some added effort and inconsistency. Kim and I will demonstrate how the cloud was really the right solution at the right time for our development of our program orientation and master courses. The biggest selling point for us to make this transition was the ability to have anywhere, anytime access and to have one content author be in control of making changes while having those changes immediately populated in all versions of the course. We no longer had to have multiple cooks in the kitchen and loss of control and accountability. Changes are simplified, oversight is consolidated, and lessons can be more easily refined. So since SoftChalk Cloud allows these work groups to meet online, we can create and collaborate seamlessly. It allowed for concurrent course shell building, which really supported our DIY model. So instead of each teacher creating lessons that live on their desktop and having little to no collaboration as a result, they can now work at this central location, and when they make updates to their content, it is immediately populated within all of the course shells. There were some concerns about content changes and the need for the consistent quality and uniformity. The question, I think, for many school division online programs who work in a do-it-yourself model is how to take something individual and make it repeatable. We don't purchase content from vendors, we create it ourselves, so how do we package it for scalability was a big concern. So here we have the opportunity to create lead content authors to ensure change approval process, and these are our LCAs. This was a significant point of growth for our program, having a single LCA in charge of content approval, changes, and refresh timelines. We received tremendous support as early adopters from both SoftChalk and Desire2Learn so that this LTI integration worked correctly. In a few minutes, Kim Devine, our instructional designer, will demonstrate the master course creation. And first, I want to speak to and demonstrate the improvement in our program orientation lessons. This is the first use of SoftChalk Cloud and the LTI integration process in the virtual high school. We previously, as I mentioned, offered the program orientation as a course, but with the cloud and LTI, we can now offer this as lessons embedded within each academic course. It is easy to embed the LTI link in D2L content, which I will show you in a minute, and this will allow us, or has allowed us, to have the students be self-sufficient and to access these lessons prior to the session start. The program orientation course is all LTI because it is not teacher moderated. We rely on this LTI integration to manage the quizzes that are embedded in our orientation lessons. This helps meet the student needs as they progress in the course on their own. This offers instant feedback to students as well as multiple opportunities to complete the assessments, and the goal again of these lessons is to prepare our students for the session start. Students didn't need to open a separate quiz tool and didn't require full course access to complete these lessons. The grades are populated with the LTI link in the teacher's D2L gradebook before the session start date, so teachers can follow up in preparation for their own course orientation. This screenshot shows how the lessons appear in the D2L module, and now I am going to show you a little demonstration of how this looks in the cloud and in D2L. So you'll see here, as the screen loads, my SoftChalk Cloud window. You'll see here I have these three virtual high school orientation lessons, which were created by a team here in our organization. These lessons have links attached to them. We take those links, send them out to the teachers. I'm going to switch over to Desire2Learn here, who then populate the links in their courses. So within Desire2Learn, adding these LTI links is as simple as going to Add Activities, External Learning Tools, and then you choose the lessons that you want to add into your course. They can also be created directly here and managed directly in this one shortcut window. So I'm going to show you a teacher view of one of the lessons. You'll notice when I first click on the lesson that a SoftChalk Score Center window appears. The students do not see this, the teacher does, and this gives the teacher great opportunity to view who has attempted the lessons, how many attempts they may have made, what their scores were. The teacher can also set the grading method, change the maximum attempts, or even complete attempts for students if they're having technical problems. From here, the teacher can click the View Lesson, and you can see here how the LTI integration is working between the two products. And the lesson opens. This particular lesson is 14 pages. At the end of each of the 3 lessons, there is a quiz. This quiz can be taken as many times as necessary. We do require the students earn 100% on it. And again, thanks to the LTI integration, we do not have to have staff moderating these quizzes or these lessons. The students simply come into the course, take the quizzes as many times as they need, and the grades populate the highest grade into the teacher's grade book. So when the course starts, the teacher can easily see who has completed the lessons and what they've earned on them. So now I am going to turn the control over to Kim, who is going to show you how we've used SoftChalk and Desire2Learn for our new master courses.
Thank you, Gina. See, I'll show my screen. Okay, I have 3 slides to present, and then I'll go to the cloud and show you the English 12 master course. The English 12 and U.S. government courses were selected to become master courses because we wanted to begin with the courses most needed for on-time graduation. Oops, sorry about that. On-time graduation, and to continue the pilot format with senior courses. To create the new courses, the learning content authors and instructional designers, we identified existing course content to create new SoftChalk modules that live in the cloud. Having a single LCA is beneficial. We feel confident we are working with the latest version of the course. It's also easy to keep the master shell aligned with curriculum standards. As changes are approved or curriculum modified, the LCA can modify the lesson once in the cloud, and the hyperlink used in the Desire2Learn to access this lesson remains the same and will always open the latest cloud version. This is a big benefit to VHS with a small staff. The features of the Desire2Learn dashboard and interface helped inform our decisions about content and assignment placement. Core content is in SoftChalk modules and protected from school-based edits. Assignments, discussions, and assessment links are inserted as D2L items to enable teacher customization and make use of the progress dashboard. We divided our development tasks up front between the LCA and instructional designer. We decided the author would create the activities such as assignments and rubrics, discussion board questions, and quizzes. And I would develop the SoftChalk core content modules, which included background lessons, resources, and embedded activities aligned to the learning objectives. We wanted our students and parents to benefit from the Desire2Learn progress dashboard, so by organizing the content this way, we were able to take full advantage of the dashboard's features, and both of us could develop the course concurrently. To develop the 8 modules of the English 12 Master Course, we used an abbreviated ADDIE instructional design model. The teacher provided module content after analyzing the curriculum standards and current courses, and one of the first tasks I did was create a SoftChalk template using Style Builder. This template was applied to all course modules to create a consistent framework. We also developed an instructor guide. With the franchise model and blended format implementation, we needed a way to orient new teachers. So the instructor guide is a SoftChalk Cloud module and provides information about course setup, assessments, curriculum guides, pacing information, and a course URL list to help with maintenance. Now I'll go to SoftChalk Cloud and show you the English 12 Master Course. Let me escape here. Okay, so when I first go to SoftChalk Cloud and log in, all the lessons I created or that have been shared with me are here. I'll open Module 2. And you can see this lesson within this frame. Oops. Here we go. So you can see the lesson within the SoftChalk Cloud frame, as well as options for the cloud. This is where you see details about the lesson or select actions. Here is where you click to open the lesson and revise it in the cloud with SoftChalk Creates. Here, the sharing. Here's where you copy the hyperlink, the LTI link, or embed code. And it's as easy as then pasting it in an email. Another sharing option would be to alert your team when you have made updates, and then you can go straight to this site to review the lesson if you have shared it with them. I want to reiterate how important this feature is for us. So when changes were made to the SoftChalk lesson in Creates, the link remains the same, so it always opens the latest version of the cloud lesson, and the link in Desire2Learn does not need to be recoded each time. So I'm going to select Preview now to view it full screen. So the Contents page reflects the organizational framework we applied to all 8 lessons. Each module begins with an introduction and presents the learning objectives. The background contains core content related to the period, some resources, and a self-check. Because we wanted more consistency with reading assignments, we placed them in the SoftChalk lesson and provided the readings right here. We also used the SoftChalk's tabbed info activity to create character descriptions. Each lesson had a vocabulary component that supports the assignment posted or created by the teacher in Desire2Learn. And lastly, each lesson concludes with additional resources to support the student. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our slideshow. So to summarize the benefits we experience using SoftChalk Cloud for the virtual high school, editing and revising is much less time-consuming, so teachers are more likely to make changes right away. Sharing a lesson with an editor or reviewer is as simple as sending a hyperlink in an email. The cloud facilitated collaboration for all aspects of course development. One example is for the approval of the SoftChalk template. It was easy for us to review the look and feel of a couple template options I created. We feel more encouraged to make improvements and enhancements after a course is launched since it's in the cloud. Right now, we're converting hyperlinks within the course content to iframes and widgets in order to keep students inside the course while viewing the content. And now I'm going to pass things back to Gina, and she's going to discuss the benefits of using Desire2Learn for the virtual high school.
Thanks, Kim. Okay, so again, just to reiterate, Desire2Learn supports the LTI technology and makes the process very simple, as I demonstrated with our program orientation lessons. It is literally as simple as copying a link from the cloud and pasting it into Desire2Learn, and can easily be shared among all of our teachers and all of our courses. And I just want to reiterate again that each time we make a change, or our learning content author makes a change in the cloud, it does immediately push those changes out to all course shells. So if the LCA and Kim make a change in English 12, it immediately populates every course in Desire2Learn with that change, which is fantastic. The LCA and Instructional Designer can work simultaneously, so these dual roles are very easy in the cloud. They can work on their own aspects of the course. For example, Kim first built the Desire2Learn course shell by adding module names and hyperlinks to the early SoftChalk modules. After that shell was created, the author could go in there, the learning content author, and build out the D2L aspects as she demonstrated, such as discussions and quizzes, so they can have those dual roles simultaneously. And then finally, again, I want to reiterate the ongoing support we have received from both Desire2Learn and SoftChalk. We've actually had their support folks speak directly with each other to solve problems, so that's been tremendously helpful, again, for early adopters. Okay, Kim is going to discuss some of the lessons we've learned along the way.
Sure. One of this lesson we learned early, and it seems kind of minor, but we had to. It was a simple item, and we overlooked it, and it created two versions of a lesson that created a bit of confusion for a short period. So the lesson is to always be sure you're saving to the cloud and replacing the current lesson, and that means you make sure this is highlighted and it's checked, and then you'll be sure to replace it in the cloud. So minor item, but it was a little stumbling block for us just for a bit.
And then another lesson that we learned dealt with the use of the different hyperlinks, as Kim showed you a few moments ago. In both of our demonstrations, actually, we utilized each of these two choices within SoftChalk Cloud. In the program orientation lessons, we used the LTI hyperlink so that we could utilize that score center that I showed you so that students could have self-sufficiency. In the master courses, we used the regular hyperlink because the embedded assessments were simply self-checks to help the students stay on track and check their own progress. They did not need to be recorded or linked in the D2L course gradebook. So which link you choose is really determined by the needs that you have once you have it in your learning management system. So in conclusion, SoftChalk Cloud creates a collaborative environment that encourages instructional designers and teachers to intersect and develop courses designed to make students more self-directed and, we believe, more self-reflective learners. The LCAs and designers are not intimidated by the environment. Rather, they are encouraged by the multiple tools in SoftChalk used to improve their courses and the ease of access and implementation within the cloud. These products have helped us solve the concerns about increased control, accountability, and scalability by allowing us to keep content changes in-house and to have instant updates to all courses being offered by updating a single link in one easily accessible location. I would recommend that you be sure to build in enough time for training with your content developers and teachers to account for change management issues when making this transition. And finally, we are very grateful to both Desire2Learn and SoftChalk for the support that they've provided us as early adopters of this partnership and this technology. Steve?
Okay, well, thank you, Kim and Gina. Excellent job. And we have a few questions, and I encourage folks that are listening, if you've got questions, now's the time to ask them, and I will get it. And let's see, the question that just came in, does the LTI function work with SoftChalk? I'm not sure I understand the question. The LTI function that works with SoftChalk creates standalone software. No, I'm not sure I understand the question, Antone. But, you know, it's all in the integration of the products that LTI is so important. So you may want to sort of re-ask that question so I can ask it. Having trouble hearing you, so I'm going to see if I can speak up a little bit. Okay, thanks, Kenneth. I have a question, and I think this is about something that Gina said earlier on during her conversation is may I ask you to elaborate on the opportunities for, sorry, things are moving around, opportunities for an individual teachers to customize a master course. How does that work?
Well, in our organization, previous to utilizing the cloud and expanding our options and our courses out to the schools, we did have each individual teacher maintain their own course and refresh their own course, and for the most part we've had 1 or 2 teachers per course for the past decade. However, with this expansion and with the development of the cloud, as I mentioned, we did turn to the LCA model where we have a single learning content author for each course, and all changes are requested through them, approved. There is an approval process in place. They then are the ones who have access to the lessons in the cloud and make the changes that are then pushed out to all of the courses in Desire2Learn.
Great. Yes. There's a question here, and actually I thought when you were talking that this may be an issue. There's a polling option in which you can raise your hand, and I'm about to ask you a question. Do you if you raise your hand if you understand the advantages of using iframes and widgets, because there is a question about the widget piece. And I'm just kind of curious as to whether or not the concept of how that works. There's a couple of questions that have come up that indicate that that's really something we should go into some detail on. Okay, it looks like if you're paying attention, only a few people have raised their hands. So can you talk about the widgets? And there's a couple of questions. The difference, explain how the widget helps keep them in the course. And the other question is, what's the advantage of embedding SoftChalk versus linking to it? So you want to talk about embedding and linking and use of iframe and widgets?
Sure. Let me bring up the page that is holding a widget so I can show that, if that's okay. So instead of sending them, opening another window that goes to YouTube, by using a widget, you can grab the embed code, and that puts the YouTube video right here on the page. And you can adjust the width and the size of this window. I think I left it as it comes up. But previously we had the link, and we do offer the link here just in case. Sometimes, depending where the student is within the school, YouTube may be blocked or they need to get it another way. So we just offer the link so they can see it if they do need to go out to get it. But this is the widget displaying the YouTube frame right here. And the iframe, it's the same concept, only it is the website instead of a video. So this is an iframe, and again, you can adjust the width of these. I didn't want to make them too much bigger, but you can go wider to eliminate scrolling. So these are the iframes, which instead of opening a new window and having that window open, it just keeps them right here on the page, and you can view the content right here. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I believe. And somebody asked, can you put most of this, not all the widget content, into D2L directly? I believe if you're using D2L without SoftChalk, you can embed content that way.
Yes, but we use SoftChalk for so that we can have a consistent template. It's more visually engaging and more interactive to have it in one place, basically. And we also love that we can now have one LCA in charge of going to the cloud, or one instructional designer who can go to the cloud and be in charge of making those changes.
There's a couple questions about, and I'm not sure how to handle this, frankly, because there's a couple questions about a SoftChalk Cloud and D2L, and whether you need the cloud to make the score center work and everything else. And the question is, the answer is yes. SoftChalk Cloud, as opposed to just SoftChalk Desktop package, is a critical part of making all this information flow together. You know, as I explained at the beginning, this is not a how-to use Desire2Learn or how to use SoftChalk. So I would invite you to go to both of their websites if you want further demonstrations, and I'll talk more about that with SoftChalk, about how SoftChalk can do that in a moment, and Bob may want to chime in as well, talk about how you can find out more to figure out how some of this works together. And we actually have a specific Desire2Learn and SoftChalk Cloud webinar coming up in the near future, and I'll check on that date before we're done here, that will talk to you exactly how all those pieces actually work together. But we can't do that in terms of this webinar. Does anybody want to add information to that? I guess you're pleased with my description then.
You did a good job, Steve.
Okay, thanks. Sometimes during the session you talked about the Score Center, and it put the highest grade into the Desire2Learn gradebook. Could you talk a little bit more about the options are there in terms of, is it always the highest grade?
No, there are several options there, and I don't think Kim has that actually in one of her tabs, but we choose the highest grade because in the program orientation lessons, our big concern is just that the students understand how to navigate and what the program policies are. It's not an actual grade. It's really something that we want them to have multiple opportunities to answer those quiz questions. And so that's how we set the details in the Score Center. However, you can have a single attempt or I believe there's some other. If you want to pass control back over to me, I can certainly show.
Okay, Gina, it's coming your way.
Okay, great. So here we are back again in our World History course, and I can show you again when the Score Center launches.
Careful showing students.
Oh, right. So you can change the grading method here. First score, last score, highest score, and average score. You can also change the maximum attempts that students can have. We have unlimited, but you can set any of those. And then again, you can complete the attempts for the students as the teacher if the need arose. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I believe it did. If the person who answered it wants to know more, let us know. There's just one other point. You mentioned at some point that you create a template using Style Builder. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. That's just a feature within SoftChalk that lets you customize the banner, change, there's many built-in templates to choose that are ready to go, but we wanted to just customize and put a little bit of our own look on it. And that's what Style Builder allows you to do, is to bring an image into the banner, change the, the colors, text colors, and things like that.
Right, you can make it look pretty much. I guess it's like a PowerPoint template.
Well, it's a SoftChalk feature versus the Cloud feature. So, it's just customizing your template versus using, one of the many built-in ones, which are very nice. But sometimes you may want to add, your own. Sure, that's a good analogy, Steve, to creating your own PowerPoint template.
Right. Somebody's asking, why not use D2L gradebook directly? Can SoftChalk grade be sent to D2L grade automatically? And I'm going to let you answer that.
Yes, and when we use the LTI link, the scores from the embedded SoftChalk assessments are automatically populated in the D2L gradebook. So again, those teachers who are not technically working during that time, since we open those lessons 5 days prior to the session start date, can simply click on the gradebook and see if the students are making progress, or if they need to send them an email to remind them to complete the program orientation before the session starts.
Okay, I think we may be out of questions. Let me scan quickly, and Bob, you may be looking here too to see whether or not there are questions that simply, I think we pretty much talked about most of them, or talked around most of them in one way or another. So I'm going to take the desktop back.
Okay.
And Bob, I'm going to talk a bit about learning more about SoftChalk, because this has come up a couple times, and I would like you to chime in a moment, because there's a lot of ways you can learn more about SoftChalk, because this was not intended in a session about that, although a bunch of information did come out. You can get a 30-day free trial, so you can try out SoftChalk Cloud just by going to softchalkcloud.com. We have webinars, Introduction to SoftChalk Cloud, and a series of webinars on how SoftChalk Cloud works with various learning management systems, including one on Desire2Learn. And I told you I was going to see when it is, and I haven't done that, but I will before we're done. So we have Innovators in Online Learning, and we have partner webinars like this, and we can provide private demonstrations. We have an extensive section on training, video tutorials, lesson tutorials, short courses, and of course we have the media. And while I'm on this pager, let me go to the next one. And Bob, do you have anything you want to add about how they can get more information about Desire2Learn?
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Steve, very much for organizing and managing this webinar, and Virginia and Kim for an excellent presentation. It was really fantastic. To learn more about D2L, everyone go to Desire2Learn.com. I would suggest looking at /resources, so Desire2Learn.com/resources, where we have information concerning live webinars, video libraries, success stories, white papers, and event information to learn more what D2L is doing and how we're innovating and transforming learning.
Right, and I paused the screen because I am searching to figure out when the next SoftChalk Cloud Desire2Learn webinar is going to be. So if you'll be patient for a moment and notice that on your screen there are contact information for all of us, really. And so if you are interested in getting hold of either of presenters, you will get that information. But just so you know, this webinar is being recorded, and you will get an email tomorrow which will have that contact information with it, as well as a link to the the recording. So please note that. Okay, using SoftChalk Cloud with Desire2Learn is going to be Monday, August 12th at noon Eastern Time. I invite you to come to our website and get that information as well. So let me go back to showing my screen live. And I want to thank everyone for coming and spending time with us today. It's been a really nice hour. I think we learned a lot. And I want to thank Gina and Kim for an excellent presentation. Thank you so much. And thanks to Desire2Learn, and specifically Bob, for joining us today and making this a really excellent presentation. And it's been our pleasure to work with you, Bob, and with Desire2Learn on putting this webinar together.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
So that's, having said that, I want to